Farley. Ron's been with us, Ron, about a year now?
Year.
And,
July 27.
Good,
It'll
good.
be a year in July.
And where was it that you came from before you started here with Victor Reinz?
Doom, doom, doom. People make the difference. Merite.
Ah, I thought it was a game show. So what is it that you like best about being here at Victor Reinz?
That I actually get to work with excellent employees such as the man behind that camera and individuals like yourself.
Get your hands off me.
Oh, darn. Anything to boost, that morale, that's me. I'm a morale booster.
All right, Mr. Farley. Well, I'll tell you what, back to you in the booth. 3, 2, 1.
I don't do interviews.
I'm here with Mr. Vasilios Liakis, who, in his alternate time, runs a Greek restaurant. Now, he's come to Victor Reinz here to bring some of his special talents to us. So, Mr. Vasilios, what is it that you actually do for Victor Reinz?
I sit in front of a computer all day and pick my nose.
That's very good. Well, my mom always said you had to be good at something, so I guess you're good at nose picking.
Yes, I am.
You're good. Well, definitely you do have the nose for it.
I'm going to have to tell my girlfriend about that one.
Well, that would be something, too, that you can keep. That's sometimes more than I wanted to know. But anyway, what is it that you found to be your most eventful situation that you've run into while you've been here at Victor Reinz?
Well, I would say the most eventful thing is putting up with my boss every single day.
Well, that's good. That's very good. So is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
That's about it.
Good. Well, I'll tell you what, that about wraps it up for our international contingency here. So if you ever find a second job, go back to the Greek restaurant. Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm here with Paul Rakowskis. Now, you've been with Victor Reinz for about how many years now?
22.
22 years, so you've seen a lot of changes go on. What would you say is some of the biggest changes that you've seen go on while you've been here?
Well, the building's doubled in size since I've been here.
It's good not to be confused with the people doubling in size while you've been here.
Well, that would have to also occur.
Well, there are some people that do double in size, don't they? So now you're handling most of the aftermarket products?
Most of the aftermarket products right now, right.
And now how far back does our product line go with in some of the aftermarket?
We go back to the Model A, Model T, even earlier.
So you're saying that if I looked in our drawings that we'd actually see drawings for that were drawn probably back in 1910, 1915?
1918, somewhere in that neck of the woods. Probably some of the obsolete files go back that far.
That's long before CAD then, correct?
Oh, yes.
Is that before pencils?
Pretty much.
Pretty much before pencils.
Pretty much.
Okay. Well, speaking of CAD, we're actually right in the middle of our CAD group here. And we're going to take a walk right over here and see Mr. Willie Lara. And Willie, how are you, sir?
Okay, how are you?
Good. Willie's one of our CAD operators. And now, Willie, Paul Rakowskis was just telling us about some drawings that he's seen from back in the teens. That would be 19,
yes,
such as like 1912, 1915, and such like that. So,
yes.
So I'm sure that you work on a number of drawings today. And who are some of the customers that you currently work on?
Right now I'm working for Navistar, and also I'm working for Ford right now.
Now we get the entire model from, in many cases, the entire head and block model from the customer?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we receive that through the FTP sites, and that's how we get all the parts that we need to work for.
Well, good. Well, you're going to be spending some time today visiting with a number of the retirees and such for our 90th anniversary?
Yes, I will. Yes, I'll be here.
Good. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, good morning. Here with Ed Radin. And Ed, how many years have you been with Dana?
About 13 and a half.
About 13 and a half. And over that time, what are some of the jobs that you've done?
I've been an application engineer for OE accounts. I've had everything from Caterpillar to Honda to Briggs & Stratton. I was a resident engineer at Caterpillar for a year.
So you were actually on site at
Yeah.
Caterpillar at that time?
That was in 1991, I believe, so that's quite a bit before the trend really kicked in.
Yeah,
we started doing it more frequently.
Cutting edge.
A little ahead of the curve. Since then, I've been the manager of the engine test lab. I ran a advanced development effort for a short time, and now I'm in the aftermarket, managing the aftermarket engineering group.
Great, great. So, matter of fact, we just talked to Paul Rakowskis here a few minutes ago and said that mention that we go all the way back to the Model A and Model T.
There is some coverage for some of those earlier engines, yeah.
That's great.
There's, some holes, but
Well, that sounds great. Well, we make holes, though, don't we?
yeah, we do. Lots of them.
All right. Well, there you have it. So thanks very much, Ed. Appreciate it. All right. I'm here now with Mr. Dan Battistoni. And Dan, I think by far, is probably one of our oldest, longest-running employees. I wouldn't say oldest. One of our
Probably right the first time.
longest-running employees. How many years have you been with Dana?
37.
37 years. That really says something to have someone here for 37 years. I'm also here with Mike Micah. And Mike, how long have you been with Dana?
I'm the new guy with 27 years.
27
New
years.
kid on the block.
Wow, that's quite a while. So, Dan, what are some of the projects over in 37 years that you've worked on, different customers, and some of the more eventful things that you've seen happen?
Well, probably the only customers I didn't work on were Caterpillar and Chevy. Worked on just about everybody else. Currently working on Navistar and Electromotive, Mack Trucks, John Deere. And I guess interesting thing probably is the advent of all the molded product that's kind of coming into play.
Great. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes within the way product is engineered, all the way from drafting boards to CAD.
Well, here's the guy
And,
to tell you about that. He started on the drafting board.
So you started on drafting boards.
Start on drafting board, which most of the people that are in our CAD department now, they look at those at antique shows rather than.
Right, they
way
looked
to
like that
make
was
a
the way it
drawing.
was done.
Correct.
Oh, good. So Mike, currently you're in sales now, and you were also at the
Right.
Chicago plant, I believe, before
Manufacturing. Area manager of the Chicago plant before we closed it.
and before we took it down.
Before we took, and then took it down.
And took it down.
Closed it first, then we took it down. It was a good way to
Well,
do
it's
it.
better than we took it down and then closed it, I
Right,
guess.
right,
It works better that way.
But was in sales before that too. So I spent 6 years in Chicago and came back to sales when we closed it.
Well, that's great. That's very good. And currently, the accounts you handle now?
John Deere, Mack, Case, Cummins Service, and OMC.
Very good. So engines that range from three or 4 horsepower, or let's say maybe 30 horsepower to 300 horsepower.
Right. The Marines are small, but in the diesel, they're all big engines.
Right. And your engine range, what would you say that runs from as far as horsepower?
Well, when you take Electromotive, you're probably looking at 1,000 horsepower plus.
Yeah. Or maybe a
Yeah.
Waukesha.
Waukesha, well, their horsepower's not quite up there, but Electromotive is.
So wide.
And you've
wide
been as
range.
low as 3.5 horsepower with Briggs.
With Briggs. And you might
So-
say
so-
I'm working
so-
on the biggest and the smallest.
So 3.5 horsepower to well over 1,000 horsepower, right? That really says something
That's
about the
a wide
range there.
Yeah.
Great. Well, gentlemen, thanks very much, and
Okay,
we'll
you're
see you
welcome.
later, and we'll probably grab you a little bit later in the day here when some of the retirees start filtering in, and you can see a lot of the people that you started out with.
That we work with.
Great.
Have a good day.
Thanks. Okay, I'm here with Jim Ulrich. And Jim, how many years have you been with
I've
Dana?
been with Dana 36 years. I go back to the original Victor Manufacturing and Gasket Company before Dana even bought.
Before Dana
Victor.
was even in the picture.
Before Dana was even in the picture.
That was, what, 1965?
65 approximately, and I joined the company in 1963. So I've finished 36 years, and I plan to work a few more before I retire.
Well, that's great. And currently, what is it that you do?
I'm a materials engineer. I do technical service work. I handle most of our documents, our specifications for materials, our factory standards, purchase specs, engineering specs. And as you know, Warren, we have many, many different kinds of gasket materials. I can't think of another type of product in the Dana line that uses as many different materials as the Victor Reinz division does.
Great. Well, I was just talking to someone here, and we said, in fact, it was Dan Battistoni, and he was saying that we work on engines from 3.5 horsepower to multi-thousand horsepower engines. And then I was talking to Paul Rakowskis, and he was saying that we have product that goes all the way back to the Model T.
Yes, we
Well,
do.
it sounds like we've got a tremendous product breadth
And we
age.
have cork materials, metals, graphites, you name it. Kevlar materials, fibers, a lot with rubber binder, some without any binder, all different kinds of metals, all the different chemical ingredients that are used in our coatings. So there's a very large range of materials, and we have to document everything, make sure we buy the right thing, make sure our plants put put things together correctly, and then we also tell our customers and our quality people what the finished product shall be like by means of our engineering specifications.
Well, that's absolutely great. So, sounds like we're going to have a good day here today.
It looks like it very much, Warren.
Good. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
And there you have it.
What is he doing? That's nothing. Get out of our building.
You know what I can do to run?
You got the headphones on.
3, 2, 1. I'm here with Jim Thompson. Jim, this project was, for the most part, you're doing here, and it's taken a number of weeks to plan and put together. You're running around here, I know, but
Yeah.
if you give us about 2 minutes.
Well, I mean, it wasn't my project. There were a lot of people that were involved in it. We had a whole committee set up to work on the 90th anniversary. I was just one of the people on that. We had Louise and Regina, Judy DeMusis, Joanne Green, Jerry Belter, and then also Victor Martinez and Arlen Griffin helped quite a bit.
Great. Well, that's a big hand to them.
Yeah, they did a great
and,
job.
And about how many people do you
And
think we're
then
going
a
to have?
lot of other people in the building pitched in from time to time, help like yourself, yourself and Eric and a lot of people helping get the stuff done.
Good.
So about 100 people.
About 100 people today, and a number of retayees, as well as 100 people that, plus people that are in the building
about
here.
200 retirees and family members.
Oh,
We should have between 300 and 400 people.
Well, that's great. Well, we're looking forward to it, and sounds good. Thanks,
Okay,
Jim.
thanks, Warren.
3, 2, 1. I'm here with Canoe Shaw. Now, Canoe, how many years have you been with Victor Reinz?
I've been with Victor 22 years.
22 years, and all that time in engineering?
That's correct, yes.
Great. And primarily, what area of engineering do you do most of your work?
Well, currently I'm a manager of technical service, so we provide support, testing support to rest of the engineering as well as application engineering, sales and our customers. But also previously I worked as a manager of materials engineering, and so that really involved the product development, creating new products. When we converted, Victor, as you know, Victor Reinz was the first company to convert from asbestos to non-asbestos in the world. We were also the first company to have a UV curable coatings. Dana was the first. So those things I was involved in.
Well, it sounds like you prepared us very well for the future, too.
Absolutely, yes.
Good.
Right.
Thank you, Canoe,
Yes.
very much. 3, 2, 1. I'm here with Jerry Kashmarek. And Jerry, you came to Victor Reinz via the Reinz group, didn't you?
Yes, Reinz. Dana bought Reinz, and I was part of the Milwaukee plant.
So you were, I believe, chief engineer in Milwaukee?
Director of engineering.
Director of engineering.
Germans reserve chief engineer for the chief engineer.
All right. Well, and how many years have you been totally with Reinz and with Victor?
Let's see, 17 years.
17 years. Now, you're getting ready to retire the end of this year?
Yes.
Well, good. Well, it sounds like a good, long and distinguished career.
I've learned a lot about gaskets. It's a lot more complicated than it seemed like when I got into the industry, but I've enjoyed it.
Good. Well, thank you very much, Jerry.
Thank
Good
you,
luck.
Warren.
3, 2, 1. I'm here with Ron Budovic. Ron is a recent retiree. Ron, you've been retired about a year now?
Year and a half.
Year and a half. And prior to that, how many years with Dana Corporation?
A couple months shy of 40.
Almost 40 years, wow. And now with that, you started out at Victor?
Right.
And that was in the Chicago plant. And what year was that?
1959.
And what were you doing back then?
Toolmaker.
Toolmaker. Trades, a skilled trades.
A very skilled
Very
trade.
skilled trade. So then you moved from Chicago plant to?
Oh, I went up through the ranks in the Chicago plant first. Leaving the Chicago plant as a kind of a director of manufacturing engineering. Went down to Perfect Circle as a plant manager in the camshaft plant. From there to Edgerton, the axle division as plant manager there. From there to the hose company. Weatherhead. Weatherhead. See, when you can't remember names, it's because you really don't want to.
Okay.
And from there back to Chicago as plant manager in Chicago, and ultimately on the division staff as the director of manufacturing engineering for the division.
Mm-hmm. Now, in the late 80s, you were responsible for building the Danville, Kentucky plant.
That's correct.
And which was one of our premier plants, and I think has still been the benchmark one of our benchmark facilities within Dana.
Yes, it is.
So,
But I also, before that, did the Robinson plant with my mentor and teacher, Bob McGranahan, who is now dead.
and that was in 1964,
Eight.
65?
68.
68. All right. Well, very good. Well, Ron, we'll see you later on tonight.
Okay.
Good. Thanks,
Good
Ron.
seeing you.
3, 2, 1. I'm here with Steve Joder, who is the Director of Quality, Steve, for Victor Reinz.
For Victor Reinz Division.
All right. How many years with Dana have you been?
26.
26 years. And prior to Victor Reinz, you were with which divisions?
Several. Spicer Transmission as a manufacturing manager, also quality manager, EPA manager, and then back to Wix with engineering and quality manager, and then back to Spicer Axle. Number of positions there. Actually, the first thing I did was ran a tracer lathe cutting pinions way back.
So you were hands-on manufacturing?
Hands-on manufacturing.
Oh, that's great. So you deal a lot with our vendors and such, and suppliers. What would you say our suppliers say about us, and how they compare Victor to a customer as they compare to other of their customers?
I would say right now our suppliers think we're probably pretty tough on cost reduction efforts and forcing them to reduce cost for one thing, but I don't think that's any different than any of our other competitors would be doing. I'd say they might say that we probably communicate better, I'd say, and give them more information on their performance.
Good. So that positive feedback helps them to improve their processes,
Right.
which therefore leads us to yielding a better product.
Right.
Well, good. Well, Steve, we'll see you a little later tonight, and
Okay.
thanks very much.
See you.
3, 2, 1. I'm here with Bobby Lisle, and Bobby, you've been with Dana Corporation for about how many years now?
40.
About 40 years. Wow. Now, one of the things that Bobby's very unique about is she's the one that gives people their first impression of Victor Reinz. She's right here in the lobby. She answers the phone when you dial our main number. So she's the one that really gives people the first impression of what they see about us. And one thing you have to remember is you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Right, Bobby?
That's correct.
Okay. What would you say is the most unusual call that you've ever gotten from someone looking for information or, well, whatever. What would be the most unusual call that you've ever gotten?
Gee, I can't think of an unusual call at the moment. Usually, I guess the most unusual would be calling and asking if someone's ever in the building. That's about the most unusual.
Well, I know we have some ties to old Chicago and such like that. I know they used to have ghost payrolls that carried on, but wasn't that mostly reserved for the government employees, where they had people that never were in the building and were supposed to be? But do we ever get any phone calls for people asking for Victor adding machines?
Oh, always, always. Victor adding machine, Victor business products, Victor comptometer. There used to be a Victor comptometer. There's a company that used to make Victor sealing compound things. Always. We're always getting phone calls like that.
So really just a kind of an unusual collection of wrong numbers, so to speak. But we do get a lot of right numbers.
Yes, we do.
So, well, Bobby, thank you very much, and we'll see you later on tonight.
Thank you. I'll be here.
Thanks. 3, 2, 1. I'm here with Gary Austin, and Gary is another longtime member of the Victor organization. Gary, what year did you start with Dana?
Started with Dana in 1968.
So that was just shortly after Dana purchased the Victor Group.
Actually, the first year that we actually became a division of Dana, right?
Good, and you were in the Chicago plant, correct?
Right.
And what were you doing at that time?
Oh, I was a rate setter. The most beloved position in the manufacturing area.
So those are the people that go around telling the other people that they're not doing their job as fast as they should be.
That's right.
I can imagine that that could have been a difficult situation and probably ended up with some tense moments.
It certainly did.
Yeah. Now, just before Chicago plant closed, you were the plant manager
Right.
there before going up to where you're currently at, which is Milwaukee
Right.
plant right now. And what would you say would have been one of your most memorable occurrences in the Chicago plant?
Probably the most memorable occurrence was a fire that we had in the stacks when we were taking an oven out. Got a call from one of my supervisors on the floor and said, "You better come out here. We've got a small fire." And if you work at a manufacturing operation, you're kind of used to the fact that occasionally there are trash fires and things like that. And I got to the doors, the old glass doors that looked down the main aisle, and I couldn't see the back of the plant because of the smoke.
So it didn't look like a small fire at that point in time.
It didn't look like a small fire at that point in time, right. So.
Okay. What was the story about the press falling over?
We had a shift superintendent by the name of Henry Planell, and once in a while Henry'd call me at home and ask about problems or tell me about difficulties in the plant. My phone rings one night, and Henry said, "Gary, we had a press fall over." And I kind of looked at him and said, or looked at my wife at the time and was saying, "Henry, I don't think I heard you." And he said, "We had a press that fell over." I said, "Henry, presses don't fall over." He said, "Yeah, man, this press just fell over." And I said, "I'll be there shortly, Henry."
And when you got there, indeed, it had fallen over. Well, I'll tell you. And I'm sure there's a lot of other stories to tell. And now, Gary, you can be back later on tonight?
Yep, sure.
Good. Well, we'll maybe catch you a little bit later at that time and see how things are going.
Okay.
Thanks.
Take care.
3, 2, 1. I'm here with Joanne Green. And Joanne, what are you currently doing now?
Working in human resources at Lisle with the benefits.
You do quite a bit with the retirees also?
That's correct. Take care of all the Lisle retirees. We just moved most of our Chicago retirees to our Dana Retiree Processing Center that's in Toledo that just opened up. Art Curry handles that, and Cora Schaefer.
Very good. And I'm sure that you're going to see a lot of the people that you talk to on the phone and that you work with.
Absolutely.
You're going to see them tonight?
Yes.
I'm sure you're looking forward to it.
Many of the luncheons, and it's good to see them. They leave here, and we don't get to talk to them except when we have problems, and this will be a fun time.
Very good. Now, prior to coming out to Lisle here, you were at the Chicago plant, correct?
That's correct.
So you saw many changes and events that occurred?
Yes.
What would you say was the most unusual event that you had seen?
Oh, I can't even think of anything at this point.
Well, I'll tell you what,
Busy, tied up with the...
we'll come back a little bit later tonight.
Okay.
And after everyone's here, and maybe seeing some of the folks that are here will help jog your memory about some memorable events that you've seen with them or had with them.
Yes.
And we'll catch you a little bit later.
Very good.
Okay, thanks, Joanne.
Thank you.
3, 2, 1. I'm here with Louisa Quinn, if I did get the pronunciation correct.
Yes, you did.
Very good. Louise, you've been with Dana about how many years now?
21.
21. I don't think we've talked to anybody today that's been under 20 years that's been here. So now, Louise, before coming out to Lisle, you were at Chicago plant, correct?
Yes, I did.
And at that point in time, what was your position out there?
Actually, I started there as the plant manager, secretary, and I'm Dana, I guess you'd say, educated person.
Great.
I went through college by Dana Corporation.
Who was the plant manager back then?
I started with Don Rita. Then I worked for Ron Budovic. After that, I worked for Ray Frederick. After that, Tom Gorman. And after that, Gary Austin. So I always say I trained a lot of general managers and future hire people.
Well, I think some of those people we've already talked to, and so we've got the scoop on Louise right now, right? So anyway, you're going to be around later on tonight?
Oh, yes, of course. I wouldn't miss it.
And once we get the retirees, because one of the questions I'm going to ask you, I'll come back and see you, is what was one of your most memorable experiences while you were at the plant? So maybe seeing some of those folks out there, you'll start to conjure up some memories.
Okay,
and
thanks.
some stories. So we'll see you a little bit later.
Okay, thanks, Warren.
Thanks. 3, 2, 1. I'm here with Victor Martinez, who is our test cell manager. Is that the current title?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
All right. Well, Victor, tell us a little bit about the what you're doing back here. These are obviously your test cells, and but tell me a little bit about what goes on in one of these cells.
Well, they're all dynamic cells, which all of them can run, except for we have a static test cell here that we do static testing on. But the majority of them are actually running engines that we do either high-performance testing or actually testing of the gasket on our customers' engines. We do deep thermal shock testing where actually we freeze the engine, and we do a regular thermal cycle, which we can run the temperatures from 200 degrees down to 80 degrees on the engines. We do a variety of interim testing also while they're running, nitrogen, Fuji's, and boatload studies as we go along with them.
What's the smallest engine and the largest engine that we've ever run back here?
We've run, the smallest engine is a 1.9 liter Chrysler, and the largest engine is a Summit, 570 horsepower.
Wow, that's quite an engine to spin.
Yes, pretty large. It's the largest that CAT has right now. We're also possibly going to see another one from Cummins series. That'll be just as much horsepower as the Summit.
Do we ever blow them up back here?
Yes, we do. We've had that happen to us a couple of times on our LS1 series. It's a Corvette engine, very high performance run engine, and they don't last too long. But we're remedying that situation, and we'll make them last a little longer this time.
Good. Well, I imagine once in a while it can be kind of a catastrophic failure.
Oh yes, it's pretty much once they let go, they'll aerate. In other words, a piston or a rod will come through the engine, and it'll pretty much be a large hole in the side of it. And then we pretty much pick up the pieces after that and put it in a box and send it back to GM. They would like all the pieces just to do analysis on them to see what actually failed on the gas or on the engine.
So really, when you run these engines in the deep thermal, you're subcooling that engine down to minus 20 degrees, minus 30 degrees?
Minus 20 degrees.
It's almost like the coldest winter day you could get?
Yes.
You start the engine up,
correct,
and at that point you go to full throttle?
Yes.
So it would be like getting in your car, starting it up, and just mashing the throttle down?
Yeah, and that's the worst possible application you can do to an engine in the hardware, because the thermal expansions between the new engines now are cast iron blocks with aluminum heads. Thermal expansion between the two metals are not the same. The block may start to warm up quickly, but the aluminum head will take some time, and the two pieces will start to shear the combustion seal on the gasket, and then you get a failure.
And you're running at that very high compression loads and
right,
such like that, high horsepower loads and
yeah,
such, so it makes it rough.
Oh yeah, and then you start putting coolant in the combustion chamber, and that's not good.
And it's all over at
It's
that
pretty
point.
much over after that.
Good. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to stop back by here a little later, and
Okay.
maybe on one of your tours later on today.
Sure.
And actually maybe take a look inside of one of the cells and see what you got spinning.
And I'll be ready for you.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Victor.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you. 3, 2, 1. Well, I'm here with Jenna Hunt. Now, Jenna, you're one of the Texcel technical engineers?
Yes, I'm actually an intern here for the summertime, so you can call me a technician.
All right, technician. So what is it that we're standing in front of here?
Okay. Well, here's the screen. It shows the different stages of the oil pan gasket from Chrysler. We have a manifold pressure. Right now it's in a vacuum. And basically I've been watching it for the last month and checking it to see if it maintains the specifications that Chrysler given us. So actually including this, I do various, I help various technicians in the summertime. I just assembled this engine right here from GM, and that's basically what I do.
Now I heard at lunch that I was talking to someone at lunch today, and they said that you took apart one of the Caterpillar engines. Was it a Caterpillar engine or was it a?
Yeah,
okay.
it was a Caterpillar diesel. I helped Larry disassemble it, take the heads off, take the head off.
Yeah, now I hear the other thing too is you're gonna have to put it back together.
Actually, that's the GM engine.
You're gonna put the GM engine back
I
together.
disassembled that completely, the block and the heads, everything.
Now
So-
I've heard a little bit of this is like I heard it from somebody who had heard it from somebody that somebody's gonna hide some parts on you. You think that'll happen around here?
Victor is going to just put everything in a box, and I'm gonna have to take it out and assemble it again from scratch, so to speak.
Well, you tell you what, you watch out where they throw you some curves, because we know what sometimes Victor gets up to, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh yes.
All right. Well, Jana, thanks very much, and we'll see you a little bit later. Thank you. 3, 2, 1. We're out in our manufacturing R&D area here, and behind me is, I believe it's a 3,000 watt CO2 laser that we use to cut steel and other materials. And with me here is Joe Reichert. Hi, Joe.
Hello, everyone.
Now, Joe's responsible for this machine here, and maybe, Joe, tell us a little bit about what's going on here.
What we're burning right now is some inserts for a Navistar project, and I get 8 out of a sheet. This is for a Milwaukee plant. Then they get molded. Here's like the finished product.
So Joe, these are actually cut with the laser.
Yes, sir.
Now, I quoted the laser as a 3,000 watt laser. Is that correct?
It's 250.
250 watts.
Yes.
250 watt laser. I was wrong there. Okay. Well, with 3,000 watts, we've been burning holes in the floor. All right. So this material is all laser cut here.
Yes.
And then we run it through.
It gets sent to Plumley.
And they mold it.
Yes, sir.
Very good. So we do a lot of the specialty parts here too for low runs, low production runs?
This is low volume.
Great.
This is actually a pre-manufacturing setup. Before they buy the hard tooling, they want to prove this actual part out.
So part of the design phase with the manufacturer.
Once it goes to Milwaukee, it'll get blanked out on the steel tooling.
Very good.
That's about it.
What would you say is the most unique part that you've ever made on here?
Oh, the dinosaurs.
Yeah, I heard about the dinosaurs there. I think that's probably where most of the time's been spent on this machine, is making the dinosaurs there. Well, great. Tell you what, you gonna be around later today?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll be back to bug you, and maybe you can have a couple of dinosaurs made for us. All right?
Sure.
We'll see you. Well, thanks, Joe. Red light's not on. Oh, it is. Okay. 3, 2, 1. I'm here with Tom Plunkett. Now, Tom, right now you're with our multi-layer steel group.
That's right.
And what is it that you're doing with, well, first of all, what is MLS?
MLS stands for multi-layer steel. And by this cross-section here, you can see our typical design consists of 3 layers, 2 active layers and 1 center spacer layer, or in this case, a beaded spacer. And in this department, our focus is on making our prototypes. Prototype process consists of cleaning the steel, curtain coating, screen printing, and all our drying and curing operations. All the layers are typically made out of stainless steel, so it's getting a good bond with the coating onto the stainless is very important. So we've spent a lot of effort in developing the cleaning process. And right behind us is our cleaning machine. And in this, we have found a very good water-based cleaner, as we don't want to work with solvents.
Right.
So we've got a good water-based cleaner that will get all the oils off. So we do all the cleaning in this machine. The sheets are then dried. We spray a primer then onto the sheets to help again for the bond of the coating onto the steel. And then the coating is applied, if you'll come with me.
So, well, Tom, let me ask you one question here. Now, gaskets in the past were a composite material. Then we went to, matter of fact, many years ago. And matter of fact, some of the people that we're going to see here later today probably remember this was, they were made out of copper. They were made out of tin plate and other basically steels.
Yeah.
Then we moved to a composite material. I believe it was considered like a beta-rad sheet and other composite materials. Then we, not too many years ago, moved to graphite.
Right.
And now we're back to a steel gasket.
That's right.
So why have we come all the way back to a steel gasket?
I think the industry has come to realize that an all-metal gasket is the most robust. There are a lot of advantages to an MLS. First being there's no chance for a catastrophic failure or a blowout. You won't be stuck on the road dead with a blown head gasket and coolant pouring out of your engine.
So you'd end up with a small amount of weepage or leakage, but you'd never end up with a complete burnout of material.
That's right. And our customers now are demanding gaskets that can last at least 100,000 miles. And an MLS is the only one that can do that.
That's the only one. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and continue with where you were going here. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
This machine here is a curtain coater. That is when we want to apply a coating to the entire surface of a sheet of steel.
Okay, and that's a very uniform thickness then?
Yes.
And now how does, we have when you say a curtain coater here, maybe we can get in here a little bit closer here.
The coating,
maybe you can explain that a little bit.
The liquid Viton goes in the holding tank down underneath. It gets pumped up into the head, and then a thin uniform curtain. It's like think of it as like a wet liquid drapery or a curtain just hanging straight down. and the pump is continuously feeding that, so we have a continuous flow of Viton and a very thin, wet curtain through here. And then the clean sheet of steel is then sent through that curtain on the conveyor.
And then based on the speed, how much of the material it picks up.
That's right.
And that sets your thickness then.
That's correct.
Very good.
We catch the sheet over here and put it on a rack, and it goes into the oven for drying.
Now, we use a larger machine such as this in our plants currently.
Right. This is just for making prototypes, which we do in this facility.
Very good.
Now, the Viton, because it's so expensive, it's probably the most expensive rubber that's used in head gaskets. To save on costs, we've moved to screen printing. In this design here, you can see we only put the coating where we actually need it.
Right, so instead of doing a curtain coating where the will be uniform across the entire surface, we're only coating around the areas that must be coated.
Because on a sheet like this, you can see that most of this material is going to end up getting blanked away or cut away.
End up with waste.
And then we've wasted a lot of Viton. So by screen printing it, we only put it where we need it, just enough. And that's good for the customers like that, because now we don't have coating in the open deck or impinged areas, which then the coating will eventually want to erode away and fall off of the gasket. Well, we don't want that coating floating around inside the engine.
Right, you don't want it contaminating.
Since we don't have that coating here, we don't have to worry about that.
Oh, very good. That sounds very good. So now, how do you cure the Viton?
In one of our ovens. Right.
It's just a thermal cure?
Yeah, that's all. Mm-hmm.
Oh, very good.
365 degrees.
Sounds good. All right, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to stop back by a little bit later, and we'll see you then. Okay. So, Tom, thanks very much, and have a good one.
Okay, no problem.
3, 2, 1. Well, I'm here right now with Dom Ramirez, and Dom, you're currently with our Detroit sales office.
That's
handling
correct.
The automotive accounts mainly?
That's correct, yeah. I handle Saturn, GM, and GM service parts, and some miscellaneous accounts as well.
Doing great. How many years have you been with Dana?
Been 11 years with Dana, and 5 of them with Victor Reinz division.
Great. So, well, that's wonderful. And what would you say has been your most memorable experience?
Within Dana?
Well, within Dana or Victor.
Or Victor. Well, it'd have to be, most memorable experience. That's a good question. You had to put me on the spot, didn't you? Probably just...
well, he sometimes he has no memory.
I would have to say...
he's in sales.
Yeah. Probably getting the awarded the Saturn MLS head gasket. That's probably one of the most memorable things. I think that was an achievement for me. So
I remember that was some good business that we got along the way.
Really worked hard. So I have to say that's got to be one.
And that was some early MLS product, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yes, definitely. Early MLS projects, and it's starting to really grow and develop. So we're really proud of that.
Good. Well, do you see our business within within Detroit growing?
Yes, definitely. There's a lot of opportunities, especially with MLS, because a lot of the current graphite and composite material gaskets are going to be going to MLS. So there's a lot of opportunity for us in the automotive market. So just got to capitalize on that.
Right, well, they're looking for that 100,000-mile engine, and it sounds like MLS is the way to go.
That's the way to go. And they can get the MLS pricing is very has come down over the years, and for the price of an MLS head gasket, they can really get performance and durability that they require for these high mileage engines.
All right. Well, good talking to you, and let's keep selling the stuff, right?
Okay,
All right.
Warren,
and you got to work on the memory. I know you're in sales, but you got to work on the memory. All right.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you, Dom. Appreciate it. Thank you. 3, 2, 1. We're now in our chemical lab, and joining me here is a man by the name of Frank Grant Aqua. Frank, how are you today?
Fine.
And Frank, what is it that you do with Dana?
I am a materials engineer responsible for coatings and adhesive development.
Okay, so a lot of highly technical equipment that is in use here?
Yes. Two of them are what you see around here. This is a TGA, and it measures weight loss with regards to temperature.
Mm-hmm.
All our materials are made of composites, and it's very, very critical to know what kind of material it is and how much of the individual ingredients are in those materials.
Okay, so what that it sounds like what it does is it actually combusts the material and then measures the difference in weight?
Yes, we have an oven here, and the material is loaded, and then it's heated. And as temperature rises, individual components burn off. And there's a balance here that measures the weight loss. And with that, we are able to develop a fingerprint of that material. We use it to as a quality assurance, and also as a trouble-solving technique to make sure that the right materials were used to make the gaskets. An example that we have is what it's here.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we term as the fingerprint. And as the material is heated, it loses weight, and the transitions or the individual components stand out, and we're able to identify those materials.
Ah, okay. Well, very good. So, now how many years have you been with Victor?
I've been here 11 years, going 12.
Very good, very good. And, well, hopefully we've got some good things coming for the future.
Exactly. We have things in the pipeline that will put us at the leading edge of technology.
Oh, that's great. So we're looking forward to another 90 years.
Exactly.
All right. Well, Frank, thank you very much, and we'll stop back a little bit later. See you.
It's all my pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks. I'm here with my buddy, Bill Johnson. Bill, how are you?
I'm just doing great. Thanks for asking.
Do we really care?
Who wants to know?
Nobody. So, Bill, what is it you do?
What do I do when?
Now. Do you remember? You're in sales. We've had trouble with people in sales remembering anything.
Is this for real?
This one surely isn't.
Obviously not.
But most of these would be. Do you want to do a real interview?
Well, sure, I'll do a real interview.
All right. Well, as you may know, that Victor Reinz operates engineering facilities and manufacturing facilities in just about every continent, from the U.S. to South America to Europe. And throughout those countries, we have technical expertise in just about all of them. And as a matter of fact, behind me here are some of our top engineers working and discussing a current project that they're working on and trying to come up with a new solution. So let's just take a minute and step in and see what they're talking about.
Gerade für Open-Deck-Motoren werden wir sehr schlechte Abdichtungspotenziale haben im Hinterland mit dieser Art von Weichstoffdichtung, generell von Weichstoffdichtung, weshalb wir uns überlegen müssen, gerade für diese Hochleistungsmotoren andere Dichtungskonzepte verwenden zu können. Ja, also
yo opino que esta empacadura tiene mejores propiedades porque tiene un recubrimiento de teflón. Su flange es continuo, lo que permite un refuerzo entre cada una de las cámaras del vehículo y va a ayudar a que la sellabilidad dentro del motor sea mucho mejor. De igual manera, el recubrimiento de teflón permite que no se adhiera la empacadura al blot o a la cámara del motor.
Sicherlich kann man das ein bisschen mit dem Material besser als mit dem abdichten, auch hier in diesen Bereichen, ja, selbst wenn wir in Richtung von Teflon gehen. Ja. Aber trotzdem werden wir hier nichts, gerade für diese Hochleistungsmotoren, das heißt höhere Brenndrücke, geringere Schraubenkräfte, weichere Blöcke und Köpfe, werden wir kaum mit diesen eine Lösung finden.
Ναι, αλλά περίμενε λίγο εδώ πέρα. Τούτο εδώ, γιατί λες εσύ είναι λίγο καλύτερο από τούτο.
So, jetzt verstehe ich nur das Spanisch.
मला वाटतं या गॅस्केटचा जर आपण विचार केला, या तऱ्हेच्या डिझाईनचा जर विचार केला तर कसं राहील. कारण की याच्यामध्ये जे गॅस्केट आहे, गॅस्केटचं जे मटेरियल आहे ते आहे स्टील, आणि त्याच्यावर रबर कोटिंग आहे की ज्याच्यामुळे ते गॅस्केट खाली बसत नाही, म्हणजे स्ट्रेस रिलॅक्सेशन त्याच्यात येत नाही, आणि त्यामुळे गॅस्केटचं लाईफ चांगलं राहील. गॅस्केटची जी काही रनिंग आहे ते खूप चांगलं राहील, त्यामुळे हे गॅस्केट चांगलं चालेल.
ॲट द सेम टाईम हे ऑइलला पण चांगला प्रतिकार करू शकेल मेटल असल्यामुळे, आणि हीट दॅट इज टेम्परेचर, जास्ती टेम्परेचरला पण हे चांगल्या रीतीने टिकू शकेल.
彼らがおっしゃる通りなんですよ。昔のエンジンっていうのは合成が高くて、こういうガスケットでも成立したんですよ。でも最近エンジンの性能が非常に上がってきてるんで、昔みたいにこんなガスケットじゃ多分今のエンジンには、適用できないと思うんですね。で、我々が作り出したのがこのガスケット。これは非常にいいと思いますよ。
Ja, nehmt diese Art von Dichtung und bessere Variationsmöglichkeiten, flexible Anpassungsmöglichkeiten im Design. Könnt im Hinterland verschiedene Sickenformen fahren, entsprechend den Anforderungsbedingungen. Und gerade in dem Kühlwasserbereich keine Ablösung mehr. Also von der Seite ein ideales Potenzial für die zukünftigen und auch heutigen schon Motorengenerationen, als die anderen Dichtungen hier bieten.
En mi opinión, este empaque es superior a los dos que tenemos al otro lado porque el área o la cantidad de área que está dedicada a sellamiento es mayor en este empaque que en los otros dos. Yo opino que este es el futuro y es un empaque superior a los otros dos que vemos al otro lado.
Otra ventaja que debemos considerar es que este material no requiere un retorque después de su instalación. Él mantiene el torque que es dado en un primer tiempo.
Και εγώ το ίδιο, με τούτα τα διαφορετικά που έχουμε εδώ, εγώ λέω τούτο εδώ είναι το καλύτερο και τούτο εδώ, λέτε, τούτο εδώ. So I think we made a decision that this is the gasket of the future.
This is the future.
Yeah,
this is the future. MLS.
Well, folks, there you have it. We've come up with a worldwide solution. Thanks. 3, 2, 1. I'm here with Ron Farley, and Ron just got done with having a tour through the IT department. So, Ron, what did you show him?
We showed him our entire network system, and Jim Thompson was the tour guide. And if you don't mind, I'll do my impersonation of Jim Thompson doing the tour. Ladies, it's right here. This is our entire network, and we control everything from here. And one of those ladies, the people that was on the tour, she said, "But you didn't get to Switzerland or something." And he said, "We're close though. We're in Germany."
That's right.
So we're close.
Right. We're all over.
So she said, "Oh, you didn't get where I wanted." And they walked over through there and saw the little.
Was everything running on the map?
Oh yeah, everything was green.
Everything was green. Well, green is good.
Green is good.
Good. Green is good. Even Ron says green is good. All right. Well, thanks.
Kern, get in here. Let's
Three,
pretty good.
3, 2, 1. Well, I'm in here with Keith Wilson, who is our division president. Ron Farley.
Yeah.
And Mike Kern. And so, Keith, now you've been with Dana how many years now? Dana?
I've been with Dana for, 15 years.
About 15 years? Good. And here at Victor a little over a year now, correct?
A year and a half.
Year and a half.
Right.
Time flies when
Yep.
we're having fun.
Yep.
So, now, before coming to Victor, where were you?
I was at Trailer Products Division, and Light Axle Division, Drive Shaft Division, and Heavy Axle.
So you bring with you quite a bit of experience in many different environments within Dana?
Yes, somewhat, but not as much as these guys here.
Well, we know
Well, who do we have here?
sometimes we
these
have,
guys-
Ron we already interviewed.
Prozac now, Ron. King. Prozac. Is Ron on Prozac? Is that why he's
Well,
on the good man?
actually, we're not sure real.
But look, it really is it's Victor Reinz. I can take the heat. I'm a spokesperson for Victor Reinz. We'll take the heat.
Now, Ron's a temporary employee.
Right.
Let the disclaimer run now.
Now, Ron's picture can be seen at most post offices around the country.
Now let's go to Mike.
Now let's go to Mike here. Mike
went to school in Lisle, right?
Went to school in Lisle.
You're a
live in Lisle.
You're a long-term Lisle person, so you
That's it,
remember
yes.
when this building was built?
Yes, I do.
That was like 1979. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
You remember
Unfortunately.
1979, and so.
I was 10 years old.
Right now, outside of Victor Reinz, you race cars, don't you?
Yes, I do.
And what kind of cars do you race?
We have a fuel altered, which is a 48 Fiat-bodied nitro fuel funny car. Is what it comes down to. It's a 5.5 to 6 second, 250 mile an hour car.
Do you have these two sidekicks? Do you bring these two guys with you at the track?
And sometimes he burns rubber out in the parking lot. I saw him do that.
Are you referring to Ron or Mike?
Huh? Mike.
Oh, okay.
It's not Ron.
Well, I'm beginning to wonder about Ron's making all these noises over here.
Good thing this will never make it to print.
How's Eric? How's Eric doing?
This one's getting cut.
I have noticed, we have a few questions for you now, Warren.
Interview the interviewee.
We have noticed that you have Eric Sharp with you on the camera over here, and we wanted to know why did you stoop so low in getting this type of help for you, and have you gone to the bottom of the barrel that this is now the type of expertise that you've come to grow in the IS department, and what do you intend to do to improve it?
Well, I'll tell you what. When you get Eric behind there, and unfortunately, I have to answer this because there might be some self-incrimination. So I'm pleading the fifth here.
Pleading the fifth. Ron, what do you think about this hoax?
Abba have a noble comment.
Okay, Mike, what do you think? I mean, you've known Eric for what, about 6 months now?
6 months, maybe a year.
Which Eric you know though? That's
which Eric? I don't know which Eric. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out how he's got a brother, Dave Sharp, who looks the way he does.
Man, Dave Sharp. Is that his brother? I didn't know he was his brother. That is good. He is his brother? Okay, look at him smile. Anyway, is that a cut? That's a take. I think that's a take.
No, I think this is going to be cut.
You got this? Are we on here? We are here in the Lisle Division office to recognize the efforts of this man, this Packers fan, Dave Schweiger.
Couldn't somebody buy him a shirt?
Dave, this is Cubs and Bears country, and you're in here with cheese. What gives here?
Well, we're just trying to sway the folks down here to the right way of thinking. we start with the Reinz influence.
You actually?
Bring the Packers.
What's wrong with a 1-14 record for the Bears? What's wrong with that? We still have pride. We're getting nearly 10,000 people a game at Soldier Field now.
Well, there's always room for improvement. There's something to look forward to.
Well, 10,000, how many does it hold?
60.
60. It holds 60, so that's not exactly good utilization of our asset there. But on a serious note, Dave, Rich.
Okay. Well, as everybody knows, the theme of our celebration is 90 years of sealing innovation. And for the next 90 years, there's no doubt that the innovation and new ideas are going to be what we're going to need to survive. So with that, we want to recognize Dave for having 2 patents filed on his behalf. And that means in the Dana system, 100 shares of Dana stock. So it's always great to start off a weekend with this award. So Dave, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Congratulations.
Now here's the real trick. Here's the real trick. Can you remember what the patents were for before you get the stock?
Yeah. Oh no! Oh, okay. I guess
I could start it off.
I don't have his record of what it is.
Oh, you don't have the record? We do not have the record, Dave. What are your?
Do we know the numbers? And I could
Yes,
probably tell you.
Yes, I do know the numbers.
Okay, I could probably tell you by the numbers since I have so many in.
4270 and a 4262.
4262, I would guess, is another version of a attachment method for a molded seal.
Told you. Okay. Told you. I was right on that one.
Okay, and a 4170.
4270.
4270.
Dave, you get 50 shares. We can't give you the other 50.
But you do get the letter from Woody.
You get the letter from Woody.
Well, that's
and
a
half
bonus.
of your allotment.
All right. Well,
Okay.
Something's better than nothing.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's great.
Well, congratulations.
Anyway, congratulations, Dave. Thank you, Eric and Warren, for
Thanks very
letting
much.
us tape this.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
3, 2, 1. I'm here with Rich Kozerski, and Rich is the director of engineering for the Victor Reinz Group. And Rich, how many years do you have with Dana now?
With Dana, I have 27 years, and let's see, I have 2 stints at Victor, 14 years, and then I moved to the Parish Division on the East Coast. That was about 7, 8 years, and then I've been back in this job for about 6. So.
Now, you started in the Chicago plant, correct?
Yes, I started as a draftsman. Now, I'm going to date myself. Now, when I started, I was the only draftsman in the whole division without a computer, and I never worked overtime.
Now, that's saying something there.
Right.
Now, we've talked to some of the other drafts people, and some of them remember when it was back on drafting tables and pencils and.
Well, I was definitely in that era, and like I said, I think our application engineering department was Dan Battistoni, Jerry Belter, a guy named Gary Fell, who's no longer with us, and 1 draftsman, that was me. So our application engineering and CAD department was a total of 4 people, and we handle all the customers we're handling today. Because I remember doing drawings for Nissan, in 1972. So.
Well, what made you choose working for Victor when you first decided to?
Well, when
to
I
come
got
over
out of
Victor?
school, it was a recession. You know, they weren't the boom times they are now. So I had two choices when I graduated. One was Stuart Warner. There was a sign company on the north side of Chicago, and Victor. Now I guess part of the thing that drew me to Victor was closer to my house. I was living in Cicero at the time, and I had a little familiarity because my uncle worked for the division at that time. He was out in Cherubusco, the oil seal plant. So
there's some family ties.
there's a lot
Dana.
of family ties. In fact, my mom, who will be here later, used to work at the Chicago plant when she was. She used to work part-time when she was in high school, and my aunt was the plant manager's secretary. So then I got my uncle, and then my cousin also works for Dana, not this division. So yeah, I got a little bit of family, remembrance in Victor. So
Now, when your mom's here, can we ask Mom about some of the stories about you?
you certainly can. It'll be nothing
Okay.
but good stuff. I'll tell you. Now, don't ask my wife, but my mother's fair game.
Your
okay?
mother's fair game.
Okay.
All right. Well, any old Victor folks will be more than happy to talk
Sounds
to them.
good.
So,
Okay, thanks
well,
a
we'll
lot.
be stopping back by in a little
Okay.
bit. So,
I take care.
good.
Have fun. Okay.
Thanks.
All right.
3, 2, 1. Well, I'm here with Mike Kessley, and Mike is one of our MLS project engineers. I guess Mike is actually heading this project up. So we're going to see what Mike's up to today. Mike, how are you?
Hi, Warren. Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Obviously, this was a total surprise here, wasn't it?
Obviously, I've been trying to avoid you as much as possible during the afternoon.
Well, I've had a lot of people try to avoid me in the day, but you know what? And it usually has nothing to do with the camera. Very good. And you're from Wisconsin, aren't you?
Correct.
Right. We've interviewed some other folks from Wisconsin too, but we won't pick on them.
You'd notice my Rose Bowl championship sign up there, but that's okay.
So the Bears are definitely not one of your teams.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely
Okay.
not. Yes, if you're interested in my cup collection here, this is my Packers cup.
Now, okay, now we have to take a look. If the camera can zoom in here, now look at what's growing inside of this. Mike, I think you better put the cup back in the drawer.
This one's pretty clean here, and this is Bucky the Badger right now.
All right.
There's no.
Well,
There's
hey,
no,
wait a-
there's no
you know,
Chicago,
actually,
there's no
the thing
Chicago
is,
Bears
actually, look at what's growing inside of Bucky.
I watch these every morning.
But
Warren,
anyway,
thank you very much.
So, no, on a serious
what do you
note,
want?
actually, on a serious note, you're working on the MLS project.
Absolutely. The MLS gaskets implementation in North America.
Very good. Now, what makes MLS superior? It seems that years ago, we were running metal gaskets. There was copper and steel. I mean, that goes back into the 30s.
Right,
Now,
right.
and we went to composites, we went to graphite, and now we're back to metallic gaskets again. Why is that?
Correct. Well, the old metal gaskets of several years ago, decades ago, were just one layer, and they were one layer of a low-carbon steel. The multi-layer steel gaskets today are made of multiple layers, as the name implies, but it's a spring steel type material, a stainless steel type 301, and that we put embossments or sealing beads on those stainless steel layers, and that provides a spring or a spring rate characteristics of the gasket. So they're much more resilient, and they have spring back characteristics much better than the gaskets of several years ago.
So really, because metallurgy has come further and machining process has come further.
Yeah,
that,
exactly. The machining processes of the mating components are what's critical also, because there's thin coatings on these gaskets, and the thin coatings provide the sealability in the mating components, and mating components surface finish is critical. So.
Good. So it sounds like this is really going to be the future, the near future for the Victor Reinz Group is an MLS product.
Yeah, we think so for automotive applications, and there's several heavy-duty diesel applications that we're working on now. But certainly in the automotive arena, with our customers of General Motors, Chrysler, Ford, they're all going towards multi-layer steel engines for the future for improved durability and long life.
Good. Well, it sounds like we've got a good future with folks like Mike here running the engineering group. So back to you. 3, 2, 1. I'm here with Marge McNamara. Now, Marge, you were with Dana for how many years?
10.
10 years, and you were in Cherubusco, if I'm not mistaken.
No? 5 years in Robinson, 5 years in Chicago plant.
Chicago. So
Customer service.
Customer service.
Production control.
Now, as I first remember you, I wasn't here too long, and it was actually out here at Lisle when Chuck was here. And in fact, you were responsible for a lot of the decoration in the building.
We gutted the building.
And without taking it down.
Yes.
but it was, I think, was it 1988, was it?
I think it was 88, 89, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
it was, what was it, what did it look like back then?
It was an ugly orange and brown because the Victor colors were orange. So it was orange everywhere.
So it,
Yeah. And it was, when the building was built up until that year, nothing had been changed. I think it,
Warren.
3, 2, 1. I'm here with John Demucius. John, how many years have you been with Dana?
41 fortunate years with the Dana Corporation.
41 years.
41 enjoyable years.
All right, and when you started, where were you?
I was starting as an engine test technician in the engine test cell.
Okay, so pulling a wrench.
Pulling a wrench. I was a wrench puller and enjoyed every minute of it. I learned it from the ground up.
That's definitely from the ground up. So I'm sure over the years you've seen a lot of changes.
Yes, went from cast iron and asbestos to bimetal and non-asbestos.
Mm-hmm.
What a trend.
Now currently you're the Director of International?
Yeah, and Business Development.
In Business Development. So now how many countries do we operate in right now?
We're operating in 5 different countries.
Which would be?
India,
okay.
Mexico, Venezuela, Brazil, and Germany.
That sounds great.
So, we are spread out, covering all bases and providing all the services needed by our customers.
Now we work on joint engineering projects with
That's
these
true.
groups?
Yes.
So a product that's manufactured in Brazil may have been designed in Germany?
Exactly. It's
And
like on the
likewise.
Tritec engine. We work together with our design engineers as well as the Germans, and the product is going to be made in Brazil.
So we source the product wherever it can be made the most efficiently, and
you got to be capable of making it all around the world.
Right. Well, our customers are now global, are
Yes,
they not?
global.
That they were asking for product to be manufactured anywhere.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
Looks like a bright future for 2020. For the year 2020.
Where do you see the future of engine sealing going? We've just heard a lot about MLS
The
recently.
MLS is going to be certainly in the cards. I think the internal combustion engine is going to be there for the next 30, 40 years at least. There's talk about these alternate combustion plants, power plants, but that's talk today, but it's not going to be reality. So the internal combustion engine and Victor Reinz is going to have a healthy future.
Good. Well, we're looking forward to it, and you're going to be around later today.
I will.
So we'll catch up with you later.
Yes.
We might stop back by and ask you what was one of your most memorable experiences in those 41 years.
I will do that.
So look forward to seeing you a little
Thank
later.
you.
Thank you,
You
John.
take care.
Thanks.
Thank you.
3, 2, 1. I'm here with Regina Salvador, who's making coffee right now.
Hills Brothers Coffee.
And now, Regina, what is it that you do? You've been with us about a year?
Yes.
And what is it that you do?
I am the administrative coordinator for Keith Wilson and the Division Operating Committee.
So you get the scoop of what's going on, huh?
Sometimes.
Okay, and what she doesn't know, she makes up along the way.
Exactly.
All right. So so you've been working quite a bit today with putting this retirees party together.
Well, I'm on the food committee, a proud member of the food committee.
So now, who did sponsor lunch today, or who did provide the lunch?
Don's Catering.
Good. Well, they did a pretty good job there.
And he's also doing the barbecuing for us. Apparently, he's been cooking for Victor since they were in Cicero, a long time.
No, that's quite a way. You know, Don doesn't look that old.
I know, he doesn't. But men never age like women do. It's not fair.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what do we have for dinner tonight?
Well, we have the popcorn cart outside in case you want popcorn and pretzels, and then we are having hamburgers and cheeseburgers, veggie burgers for the vegetarians in the building and their families, and pop and cake.
Well, it sounds like tonight's going to be quite a good fare tonight for dinner. So, well, we're looking forward to it, and we'll catch up with you a little bit later.
Thank you.
See ya. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Well, it's a little after 3 o'clock, and we're starting to have some of our guests come, and we're going to take a few minutes and meet up with some of these folks. Many of these people retired after many, many years with the Victor Group, so I'm sure we're going to hear some interesting stories. So here momentarily, we'll be joining them. 3, 2, 1. I'm here with Greg DeMarco and Carol Hines. And now, Carol, you were at the Chicago plant?
Yes, I was, from 81 to 95.
And what was it that you did there?
I was a scheduler in production control. I took care of the raw materials for a few years and then took over Plant 1 in Department 212 and 315 when it closed.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're from Havana, are you not?
My ex-husband worked at the Havana plant. I'm from that area. I was never in Havana.
Well, few of you know that Dana Corporation, or Victor, actually had a plant in Havana. Now, before you get started, it's not Havana, Cuba. It's Havana, Illinois. It's about 2 hours west of here?
4.
About
4 hours southwest.
4 hours southwest. I have to take a geography class. So also with me here is Greg DeMarco. Now, Greg, you're heading up the automotive group now?
I have responsibility for the automotive customer engineering and sales force.
Now, we've heard an awful lot about MLS. We've talked to a lot of the engineers about the MLS product and such, and they say that that's really going to be the future of the automotive industry, is going to be an MLS product.
I think that's true, and largely so because of the robustness that the MLS designs afford. A side benefit is the strong environmental aspect that it brings in controlling the overhead clearance and head-to-block joints. So I do think that MLS is the future for sealing head-to-block joints in the automotive market.
Good, and we've got a couple of new projects that are rolling that should bring us some good business in the next few years.
We do fortunately have a couple of very large projects, projects that will amount to probably in excess of 5 million cylinder head gaskets a year. So those are slated to begin out in 2003 and 2004, so they're far-reaching programs.
Well, it sounds like we've got a bright future.
We do have a bright future.
And we owe it a lot to the people that were with us for many years.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, folks. That was easy.
Expose it.
Wait a minute. We're in search of a Marcy, who is quickly walking away from us. And it looks like she has escaped us. We're back.
Oh,
we finally caught up with her. So, well, I'm here with Marcy Duncan. Now, Marcy, tell us, you've been with Dana how many years?
Let's see.
Don't trip over the cord there.
31
it's
years.
It's a short fall, I know.
31 years. Yes,
31.
31.
31. Where'd you start out?
The Cherubusco Distribution Center.
Also known as CDC.
CDC, not anymore.
Not anymore. Okay. Not to be confused with the place in Atlanta.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So anyway, Marcy, right now you're sales operations manager?
Yes. Yes,
so
I am.
You're responsible for all of our customer service?
No, I'm responsible for the internal customer support from the division with orders and quotes that we support the plants and we support the customers. The actual plants handle the customer service functions.
So, for example, for quoting and such, for initial customer contact and support of our sales group?
Yes.
That would be your group?
That's correct.
Very good. Well, that's an important piece to have. So, I'm sure you're going to see a number of people tonight that you haven't seen in a while?
I hope we do.
Well, very good.
I
Well,
hope we do.
we'll catch up with you a little later, but I have a
Warren.
question for you, so I want you to think about this.
Yes.
What was your most memorable experience that you've had while being at Victor? And you don't have to answer now, but we will be back.
Okay.
So we'll be back. 3, 2, 1. Well, I'm here with Bill Johnson, and Bill, you've been with Victor Reinz and Dana Corporation about how many years now?
22 years.
22 years, and in that distinguished career, how long? What different locations have you been at? And
It's been with the aftermarket divisions. I've been in Toledo quite a bit of that time, working with national accounts. I spent a lot of time working for the cruise control division that we had in North Carolina, and the last couple of years has been working with Victor Reinz on some of the aftermarket gaskets in the engine business.
Good. Well, right now you're working on a project which is something like an advanced technology group or brainstorming group.
And we're trying to look at what's coming down the road. Some things like fuel cells that are coming to replace engines as engines get phased out in the future. But I don't think that's going to be like next year. But we're talking maybe 10 years out in the future, and we're trying to look at fuel cells and determine what type of sealing mechanisms they have in them or are going to have, and what kind of materials they're going to have in them, and some things that we might be able to employ some of the activities that we're doing here to be part of that as engines start to get replaced.
Sounds good. Well, sounds like we've got a good future then.
Well, I think there's a lot of competent people in this organization, a lot of people that really are excited about change and embrace change, and I think that we'll figure out what's next, and we'll be able to adapt to it. We always have. We've been there 90 years, have been adapting to all the change. A lot of changes in 90 years, so we're not afraid of any changes in the future, and we'll find a way to make sure that we're on top of all of it.
Sounds good. Well, there you have it. Thanks, Bill. We'll talk to you a little bit later.
Well, thank you. Position number 21. As we climb up the ladder of your life barefooted all the way and loving every minute of it.
He's on a roll.
Hold on to your seats as we get down with a little Southern Fried Boogie. Take it away, Warren.
And I think we've had it. 3, 2, 1. Well, we've got a number of the retirees and such who've come to help us celebrate the 90 years that they've helped make. And standing with me here, I've got Paul Rakauskas, who is not a retiree. He's still one of our current folks here. But what I'd like to do is see who we have here. I believe we have Joe Collins.
Joe Collis.
Joe Collis, that's correct. And Joe, how long were you with Victor?
40 and a half years.
And retired when?
I retired 13 years ago.
Okay. And so you knew the Chicago plant for many years?
Up and down, yes.
Inside and out?
Inside and out, yes.
Do you have a memorable experience?
Very memorable.
No, that's good.
But it was a good company to work for.
Good.
It was a good one. They treated us good.
Well, good. Well, we appreciate it, and I know it's without you, we wouldn't be where we are today.
I guess that's right, yeah.
Good. And we have Paul Haldeck, is it?
Gladly. He's another Paul. I have about the same history as Joe. I worked there 43 years, a few more.
We both were in the tool room.
Yeah.
Both in the tool room?
Always in the tool room. And same kind of work, yeah. Making, repairing dies. Same thing.
Well, we do know that dye work within the gasket businesses, that's the lifeblood of it, really.
Yeah.
When I started, go ahead, Paul.
Everything is modernized. They cut the dies different. They wire cut dies, and it's quicker. It isn't made like by hand like we used to before, and all that grinding out and all that was done on the NC machines. They cut everything out. It's just a matter of putting it together, almost. It's a very, very sophisticated way of doing that. And the holes line up perfectly. You know, everything is exactly right.
So you've seen a lot of change going on in the industry.
Yes, and we changed a lot with everything that was going on. And I worked on many different types of dies to make different kind of gaskets. We had an awful lot. Just if you look at their catalog through here, you see the many kinds and different types that we of gaskets we made. I'm amazed myself when I see them all. So it was good work. I liked it.
Well, thank you for spending some time with us, and enjoy the evening.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I'm back here with, is it Andy?
Babel.
Andy Babel. And Andy, you were with Victor for how many years?
27 years. I'm retired 17 years.
So most of that was at Chicago?
All of it was in Chicago. But I serviced the plants in Cherubusco, Robinson, and Havana was the third one. Yeah.
And what was it that you did for us?
I think everything. I partly research and partly helping the engineering decide on different compounds and troubleshooting.
Well, I'm sure when you go through the building today, you'll see a lot of changes in the engineering area. And
yes, I do. Although I work in this building for maybe a year or two.
Oh, when we first moved over here?
Yeah.
Well, very good.
And but I lived too far. I didn't like to travel, so I got myself transferred back to Chicago.
Very good. Well, Andy, thank you very much, and enjoy the evening tonight.
You're welcome.
Thank you. 3, 2, 1. I'm here with Leonard Lanning. Now, Leonard, you were with Victor for...
13 years.
13 years?
Victor and Dana, yeah.
And that was at the Chicago plant?
Yes.
And
the
what
Chicago plant.
What did you do for us there?
I was a janitor.
Okay.
I used to clean Victor's office and that, you know.
Now that building was about 750,000 square feet.
Right, and that thing is all flattened down now. Nothing there. Yeah.
So it was quite a building though, wasn't
Right, it was a building. It was years back when I started working. It was a good place. I mean, it was a building that it just come natural to work for.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, you enjoy it tonight, and
yeah, sure will.
Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
3, 2, 1. I'm here with Harold North, and Harold, you were with Victor for about how many years?
Well, just short of
43.
43. I think that's the record so far. I know we've had some people at 41. I think 43 today is the record right now. And
I retired July 1st, 83.
83. So you saw many changes that occurred within the plant?
Yes, I did.
Yes, I did. What were some of the things that you did while you were at Chicago plant?
Well, probably the biggest tall order was I answered to 7 vice presidents. Have you ever walked the fence for 4 miles in a row?
That would be it. If you have seven bosses at once.
Well, from time to time, not all at once. But, then I handled the company's fleet. We had about 50 automobiles. I was manager of purchases. I renovated the lobby. You probably saw some pictures of that.
Yes. Hello. Well, we'll catch you here shortly, Harold. Thank you.
Okay.
Hold on. 3, 2, 1. I'm here with Bob Welk. And Bob, you were with Warren Smith.
I'm with Victor Gasket Oil Seal Division.
And
under Tom Kasatka and Ed Walensky. Oh, a bunch of fellas.
Now, was that at the Chicago plant?
That was Chicago plant. I was never at this plant. This plant was just starting up then. But there's been a hell of a lot of improvement. Too many.
Right.
You can't keep up with them anymore.
Now, did oil seals move to Havana for a period of time? No,
Churubusco.
Churubusco. I was in Churubusco. And were you ever down to the Churubusco?
Oh yeah, we used to go down there frequently. Check on deliveries and sequence of operations. I was in charge of more or less of the silicone seals. We had problems on there with oven curing at night. You had a 23-hour cure. And sometimes the oven would go off, you had to extend it, and back and forth. It was a mess, but it worked out.
So were you mainly in engineering?
Yeah, design, sales, set up a plant in Bogota, set up a packaging plant in Panama. Very, very, very different work all the time.
So the Victor Group was a visionary group back even in the 50s and 60s and early 70s.
Right.
So great. Well, Bob, enjoy the evening tonight.
We certainly shall.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. 3, 2, 1. Well, I'm here with Jim Jamrog, and Jim's out of the Bingham Farm sales office.
That's correct.
And
been there since 1968 in the Detroit area.
He's been there for many years.
Right.
And what are the main things that you're working on?
Well, right now we're working on the Gen 3 cylinder head gasket for 2003 or so. We're also working on a Saturn project. Heat shields are big with this now, and we're pressing the customers to give us more orders along those lines and approvals. Our St. Thomas plant is into the heat shields, and it appears that they're going to do very well in it.
Good. Well, it sounds like it's going to be a growing business for us, is in the shield market, as well as we've heard a lot about MLS too.
Well, the MLS has definitely taken over in the cylinder head gasket line, and has also taken over in the exhaust manifold gaskets. When the OEs went to exhaust manifolds, they just sort of sidestepped graphite and went to MLS, and now that technology is being applied to cylinder head gasket applications. We're supplying Ford Motor Company out of Germany into the S6 engine plant, which is a very high volume engine, 3.8, 4.2. We supply in Cologne the 4-liter MLS gasket, and of course we're gaining approval on the new L5 inline GM engine that's going to go into production in 2003. So we have a lot of things going for us, and that's an entire new product line. It's kind of interesting to see how gaskets have evolved over the years, and many years ago we were supplying Victor-Core 150 type and Victor-Core 200 type gaskets, and then of course they went asbestos-free to 159s and 209s, and then back in 1986 we supplied the automotive industry here in North America the first high-volume graphite gasket, and that went to Buick on the 3800 engine. We still enjoy that business, and of course, eventually added graphite into our line at General Motors in terms of on some of the other engines were 5.0, 5.7, 4.3. We were able to solve the GM 2.4 dual overhead cam cylinder head gasket problem that they had a few years back, and we still enjoy that business. But now it's going off in a different tangent to the MLS, which seems to give better performance.
Well, they're looking for that 100,000-mile
absolutely
reliability.
More than that, really, when they're talking in terms of truck engines well beyond 100,000.
Right. Well, it sounds like we've got a good future, and it sounds like from a number of the people that I've spoken with, we've got a good engineering background and a good stable full of people that really know what they're doing.
Well, we certainly have the expertise, that's for sure, and I think we're known in Detroit as problem solvers, and we're highly regarded, and we have always been highly regarded as a problem-solving gasket company, and we continue that.
Great. Well, thanks, Jim.
All right.
Enjoy yourself. Thank
Very
you.
good.
Very
When
good,
they,
both of you.
when
Both
they
of you.
gave us
Both of you.
shirts,
Come here, both of you.
yeah, they didn't have to put where we worked at. We knew.
All right, well, that's so we can find our way home. Hey, guys, let me go on. I've got Chuck Rudolph and Chuck Kuznicki. Chuck, you were at the Chicago plant. Well, actually, I got two Chucks. So how many years?
1948, there you are.
The 1948, we've got, that is, Help the Red Cross War Fund.
It was 18.
That's February 1945.
That's 45. This was 48. Now find me on that.
Oh, I'll tell you what, if we can zoom in here. See, I cheated before because I saw you pointing to this fellow right here. So we've got this, do you believe? I don't know. Sorry about that. So that's a lot of history there.
51 years.
It's an awful lot of history.
Oh, yeah.
So, well, tell us about some of the memorable times that you had while you were at the Chicago plant.
I worked 19 years nights. I met every gal on the night shift.
Okay, well, we'll just let it go at that then, all right?
No problem.
All right. So,
memorable times, Charlie. I got a picture for you. Memorable times, Charlie. Oh, yeah. Every day we walk through the door.
Something different every day.
Yeah.
So you saw
Problems, always problems.
But then there were solutions.
Never.
Never any solutions.
Never.
We got all these problems in. I hope
That's
not.
why they built this place.
Uh-oh.
That's why they have to. That's why they had to put that name on your sleeve.
Right. Exactly. That's so I can find where I'm supposed to go. Lyle.
Will we all get a tape like this?
You may see this stuff show up on CNN. I don't know. It depends on what you say.
Oh, CNN.
So, all right.
Signing off.
Hello. We're going to let these folks come down the elevator here. So, actually, if our cameraman would move up. Chuck, where were you within the plant? What did you do?
A tool and die maker.
Tool and die.
There's another one.
And well, we got back in 1944, the Victor Gasket News. It's buy more war bonds and keep them. So
I was in France at that time.
you were in France, so you were doing your part.
Third Army, yeah.
So then you came back and to
Did
the
normal
plant?
thing. No, I never worked at the plant before I went in.
Oh, okay, all right.
My brother-in-law, Steve Rugit, worked there, and he told me to take the apprentice course to be a tool and die maker, which I did.
Great.
Yeah, in 48, I started in 48, 53, I became a die maker then.
Right. Now, at the time you mentioned apprentice program. All the tool and die makers had to go through an apprentice program?
4 years, and then 4 years to get the top wages. It took 8 years.
You had 8 years worth of training for a tool maker.
And what's the sad part, all the overtime you put in didn't count.
But you ended up with a
Well,
long,
instead of working
long career.
40 hours, you worked 50 hours, you know.
It ended up with a long career, though. Because
Yeah.
you were there till, for the most part, just about till the plant closed, wasn't it?
I closed the plant.
So it was many years. A lot of changes.
It was 95, July.
95. Good.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Who put this whole thing together?
This was our committee. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up here with you real quick.
Oh,
So-
you're. Mark, yeah.
So
Wait a minute, you used to
well,
come
enjoy
to the
yourself.
tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
You know, who else was your buddy?
Okay. All right, I'm here with Jerry Belter. Jerry, you've been with Dana about how many years?
40 years.
About 40 years. Well, you know, you're not the oldest one yet, or
That's
not
right.
the one with the longest experience. We actually had someone with 43 years that I met just a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
But I think you do hold the number of patents.
That's
how many patents do you have?
22.
22 patents, and that's really the lifeblood of the industry, is the ability to have to be able to be creative and invent.
Mm-hmm.
And so what have you been doing for those 40 years that you've been here? What type of work have you done?
Well, have done product engineering work for mechanical face seals, for lip seals. I have run the engine test lab. I've done tool engineering, application engineering. That's about all of them.
Well, that's enough. I think that really wraps it up. You know, there's not much left to do.
Yeah.
And well, that sounds great. And I'm sure tonight you're seeing a lot of folks that you haven't seen in a
Oh
while.
yeah, a lot of people here that I've worked with.
And a lot of memories there.
Oh, definitely.
And a lot of stories too.
Yeah, that's right.
So I don't know if we'll tell all the stories or not, but
right.
Sounds good.
You notice if you look at a lot of the older pictures in the book, the Victor organization has had a lot of parties. All the pictures are at parties.
All right. Well, that's good. Well, we'll make another one here.
Right on.
All right. Thanks, Jerry.
Sure.
All right. We're here with Don. Don's the caterer. Now, Don, what were you just putting together here? I don't see anybody else around here for food yet.
We're feeding the help.
Your feet? Well, I tell you, you got to feed them more than that. They've been working hard, and it's hot out here.
Yeah, since I don't pay them, they should eat.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what do we have on the menu tonight?
Oh, we have hamburgers and cheeseburgers. We have some veggies, and we have chips, and we have hot dogs.
Well, great. Well, you
all
got
the condiments.
Well, you got a bunch of folks coming, and they're
hungry.
They're hungry.
Good. We got a lot of food.
All right. Well, there you have it.
All right.
Come on over here. All right, let's stand in front of you.
All right, we're here. Matter of fact, we're here with out in the manufacturing R&D area, and we have Rich. Who are these wonderful people here?
Well, Warren, these are the famous Jima girls. Okay, let them introduce each other.
All right.
I'm Loretta. I worked at Victor's for 34.5 years.
I'm their sister Clara. I didn't work. I'm just a guest.
I'm Frances Ziba.
Could you tell Warren how you know me?
Oh, let's see, friends. Oh my gosh, we lived in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cicero.
Right, they're from Cicero.
All from Cicero.
And then we worked at Victor's when he worked there.
Right.
So you remember him when he was a young man?
They're kind of like family.
All right.
I'm still young, right?
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
You used to live next door to another sister of ours.
All right. Well, thank you.
Dolores Trimvest.
Trimvest.
It's a gasket coater.
Okay. 3, 2,
Department 217.
3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm here with Dolores Trembass.
Mhm.
And Dolores, you were at the Chicago plant.
I was a gasket coater.
Gasket coater. What years were you there?
Let's see, I'm gone out of there. It has to be 11 years that I'm gone from Victor's. I retired.
About 11 years. So you saw.
I would have stayed, but my husband got cancer, and so he was dying. I took my retirement.
So you saw many changes along the way.
Oh, heavens, I think I was all over that plant. If somebody got laid off and I had more seniority, I had their job.
You moved
and
over
I
there.
didn't really know how to do it.
But you learned along the way.
I
there.
sure did.
Oh, that's great. So I'm
When
sure.
they gave me the mule, you know, the hand truck, I said, you're going to find some poles down. They said, we're going to train you. Here, you're trained.
Yeah, there you go. When you learn. So I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes coming back
Oh,
here.
this is amazing.
And I don't know.
I hung everything and anything. If you got my way, you could get hung too.
So, well, that sounds great. Well, enjoy your visit tonight, and
Yeah.
glad to have you.
It's really amazing. I have never been in this plant. I'm fascinated. Really.
Okay.
I told him you got the easy way to go. We done it the hard way.
The hard way.
400 degrees, one oven, 300, and another 400. We used to run them for cold clots.
I imagine
On
on
our
a day when
year.
it was 90 degrees
So
out.
we'd
it was-
hope they'd send us home, and they never sent us home.
Oh, well, thanks very much,
But I
Dolores.
really, really enjoyed working for Victor Gasket.
Well, thank you.
I really did.
I know we wouldn't
It
be here
was
today
a-
without you folks.
Right, it was a dream. It was a dream. It was a good dream.
Well, thank
And
you.
we had a lot of nice times.
Great.
A lot of nice times.
Good.
And it's a shame that I hear all my bosses passed away, you know.
I'm sure there's still some folks here that you'll see
Yeah,
tonight
oh,
that you've
yeah.
worked with.
A lot of people I know.
Good. Well, I'll let you get back to them. Thank
Okay.
you. 3, 2, 1. I'm here with Joel Weiger. Joel, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
Joel, right now you're in our sales group, correct?
That's correct.
And,
Calling on Navistar and Cummins a little bit. So,
Great. Well, what do you see some of the challenges in the heavy-duty market?
some of the bigger challenges now is they're getting more closer to purchasing is getting closer to how the automotive customers are. So more aggressive, more concentrating on price, not so much engineering driven. So that's a new challenge for us.
Well, that's where you got to get out there and sell it, right?
That's right. That's correct.
Good. All right. Well, I'm going to let you get back to the folks here, so enjoy your evening tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. All right, 3, 2, 1. Well, we're here with some of the youngest members of the Victor Reinz family. So who do we have here?
Ashley Laniger and Lauren Wilson
And Lauren Wilson. Oh, okay. What is that? Where'd you get the shark, Lauren?
from Bill Johnson.
From Bill?
Yes, thank you very much.
Bill gives you free stuff.
Yes, he gives us lots of free stuff.
Well, you know,
No, you paid for it. Tell him you paid for it.
well, knowing Bill, it is free. But then again, sometimes you get what you pay for, too.
Bada boom.
So anyway, you having fun tonight or today?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, good, good. All right. Well, we'll see you later then.
Okay, bye. Bye.
Now, Bill, what can you say about the shark biting your nose?
Ouch.
Well, 3, 2, 1. Hey, we're almost caught up with Rich Richter. Rich, come on. We got to get to. Now we're gonna catch you on. We're gonna catch you one way or the other. So
they got me, bro.
No, we got you. We finally got them. Now we was trying to get away from us here, and I think you've always been, kind of on the
bashful side.
No. How many years were you with?
36 years.
36, and all that was at the Chicago plant.
Every day that I showed up.
Okay. So what was it that you did there?
Quality control.
All right. And well, that sounds great. So
Been retired 4 years and enjoy every day of it.
Well, good. Well, glad to have you here tonight.
Thank you, sir.
And we'll see you a little later.
I hope so.
Hey, tell you what, I'm going to come back. I want to ask you about what were some favorite memories that you had?
Vacations and when they signed me up for retirement.
Okay, how about a memorable? Okay, how about another one? How about a memorable experience that you could say on tape?
Okay, I'll have to save that one.
All right, we'll keep that one. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
3, 2, 1. Well, who do we have here?
Say hi, Colleen. This is Colleen.
Hi, Colleen.
You don't have much to say today, do you?
So I'm here with Alex Williamson and Colleen, who's being a little bit shy today. Okay.
And my son, Timmy.
Hi, Timmy. How are you?
Say hi.
Okay, well, we're being a little bashful, too. Well, you have fun tonight. Go have some hamburgers outside, okay?
Want some hot dogs and hamburgers?
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. 3, 2, 1. I'm here with, I believe it's Louise.
Yeah, Paparo.
Louise Paparo, and
Yes.
you were at Chicago plant?
Yes, yes.
And, for about how many years?
About 27 and a half.
About 27 and a half. Well,
Yeah.
So
We felt like that was home.
I'm sure after 27 and a half years,
Yeah.
it became like home.
Right. So
what was it that you did there?
punch press the last few years that I worked over there. I did a little bit of everything.
Along the way, learned a little bit of it along the way.
Yeah. Whatever they needed me, I went.
Well, good. Well, I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes over in the time.
Plenty change. Yeah. And then we cry when they close, of course, right? Yeah. We lost our home.
Yes. So good. Well, hopefully you see some folks that you worked with tonight.
I'm sure that I come because I know I will see a lot of people that I know.
Okay. Well, thank you, Louise, and enjoy tonight.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
3, 2, 1. I'm here with John Freebus.
Right.
John, you were at the Chicago plant for about how many years?
37 and a half.
37 and a half years. So a lot of memories along the way.
Oh, yeah. But I left there a long time ago, too.
So
I left in 75.
So you started,
In December.
what year did you start?
In 37.
So 1937 you were there and then left?
And I left in 1975 in December. So I started in July in 37, so I had 37 and a half years.
Many, many years there. A lot of changes, I'm sure, along the way.
Right. Well, in the plant, yeah, and occasionally I got into the plant, you know, but worked in the maintenance, so that's where I retired from.
Oh, great. Oh, that was quite a plant to maintain.
Yeah.
750,000 square feet.
Hi, Jerry. So meet all these old guys over here.
Good.
Yeah. So no, I enjoyed working there. We always had a lot of fun. We was a big family. We had our picnics and our dances and everything, and everybody worked together, and you couldn't beat a better bunch of guys, people to work with all those years. So, a lot of memories.
Well, that's great. I'm sure you're going to see a number of people here tonight.
Oh, I already have, you know. I keep bumping into, every time I turn the corner, I bump into someone.
Bump into someone else.
Like I just bumped into Joe Kazerski's son over here. I mean, we worked together years ago, too.
2 years ago.
So.
All right.
Okay.
Well, John, thanks very much.
Okay,
Enjoy
you're quite
tonight.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here. Hey, I'm back here with Frank Furio and Andy Babel again.
Right.
And now, Frank, you were where were you in the Chicago plant?
In the molding department, and I worked there for about 18 years, and more than that, about 40 years.
About 40 years.
And I was in the injection, compression molding, and transfer molding, and all that junk.
And he couldn't live without me.
Oh, okay.
And
So,
I remember
well,
him. I remember him when he was a junior draftsman, straight from Bari, Italy.
Yeah, there was a long time ago. There was 1959.
That was 1959 you started?
That's when I started
Loves-
as a draftsman, and then I was mold designer, and then I was, I guess I got in molding in the manufacturing and injection molding, and I used to design molds and stuff like that.
Oh, great. Sounds a lot of history there.
Right.
Well, that's great talking to you, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of friends here tonight.
Yes, a lot of them. Because when I first came over here, I thought I wouldn't know anybody there. So I came over here. I knew a lot of guys. I know a lot of guys.
A lot of old friends here.
Not all friends, right?
Well, that's great. Well, I'm gonna let you get back to them and see them. So thank you both.
Okay, bye bye.
Camera shy. 3, 2, 1. We've got Dave Sharp here. We're back in the test cells, and Dave, we're outside of cell 1 here. And can we step inside there for a minute and see what's going on?
Sure, if you'd like to. Let me open the door for you.
So what is it that we're doing in here?
Right now, we got an engine running on a pulsator. Pulsator basically runs a frequency to simulate the actual running of an engine, the piston. And also we're running a thermodynamic cycle, or a thermal cycle on it, which is running through a hot state and a cold state. And we've got another engine over here, a V6. I won't tell you what kind of engine it is, because I don't know if we're allowed to do that. But it's actually running through just a thermal shock test where it's going cold and hot. It's basically going up to 240 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's coming back down to negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Basically what that does is it causes a scrubbing motion on the gaskets between the head and the block surfaces. And that's basically what we do here.
So what we can do here is actually test an engine without running through a full live test.
Exactly. We want to start the gasket testing development right here, and then we'll take it down to the dynamic test cells. It takes less time here. We could run a full test in 3 to 4 days to simulate 100 running hours over in a test cell.
Right. I would imagine sometimes if the entire engine isn't fully designed, we could actually run the head and the block joint.
Correct.
Without testing it, without a bottom end being built even.
Correct. Basically what we got to do here, we got to simulate on the pulsator. What we do is we simulate the pistons. We build dummy pistons and a dummy crank, and we put them in there so it's a top dead center. So we can't actually use all the hardware that we're supplied. So we're basically using the block and the heads to run our tests.
Well, sounds great. Well, Dave, thanks very much.
Thank you, Warren.
Come on, okay, and we're gonna catch you, man. Okay. 3, 2, 1. I'm here with Larry Walters, and Larry's one of our test cell technicians. And
good afternoon, Warren.
How are you, Larry?
Doing just fine, thanks.
So now, with our test cells, what are some of the things that you typically will do on a test cell?
Well, we do a various number of tests. We do a deep thermal shock test. We do an endurance type test. We do quality control type testing for our cylinder head gaskets. It's very enjoyable work. Very interesting.
So when you say deep thermal, what does that really mean?
Well, what that means is the engine is run over a particular speed and load, and then it's the temperature of the coolant is brought down and forced through the engine, and we basically make the engine very, very cold, and then operate it very, very severely.
So it'd be kind of like getting in your car on a real cold morning and starting the key and
sure would
pedal down.
It'd be like drag racing on the coldest day of winter.
You don't want to really do that very often, do you?
You certainly don't.
All right. Now, all these cells are all computer controlled?
Yes, they are. They're all computer controlled, and as you can see, we've got some very nice equipment behind me, and maintains all the different parameters of the engine and keeps track of all that information.
Now, how long do some of these tests run? How many days, hours, weeks, cycles?
Some can run as short as a couple of days, and others can run as long as a month, month and a half. So it depends on the type of engine that we're testing, etc.
Now, over the years, as I remember, we've had some catastrophic failures of engines that we've blown up. What would you say would be the most memorable one?
We've had some memorable events. We had one where we tossed a dyno out of a cell, and that was pretty exciting.
Well, tell me about that.
It wasn't one of my tests. It was one of the other guys, but we had the engine running wide open throttle, and the dyno decided to lock up and just spin right off its pedestal. So rather exciting.
So it was turning at what, 6,000 RPM?
It was about 5,000 RPM, and we had a large chunk of steel about the size of, about 2 tons is about the size of it.
And it decided to start spinning all at once.
Yes, it did. Just tore right off its mount.
I'll be darned. Well, that would be eventful. I wouldn't want to have been in the cell when that happened.
No, we wouldn't have been either.
All right.
It got everyone's attention in the shop at that time.
Oh, good. All right. Well, Larry, thanks very much.
Well, thank you, Warren.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
3, 2, 1. I'm here with Ed Radin. Ed, now you're the proud owner of the 1962 Pontiac Grand Prix that we're standing behind here, which is absolutely in mint, pristine condition here.
Thank you.
Tell me about some of the things that you've had to do to restore this one.
I purchased the car, it already had the paint job, had most of the chrome work redone. I had to replace a lot of little pieces on the outside, chrome, emblems, antennas, little miscellany, grills, stuff like that. Just a lot of cleaning. The car was real nice and original, but it did have a lot of filth. The engine I had to rebuild. Using Victor gaskets, we were the original OE source on this engine, and we still manufacture the OE style head gasket for this. Utilize those, as well as the OE style exhaust gaskets. This is about a 6-month project to restore the engine compartment and the engine. Other than that, I just cleaned her up and enjoyed her.
Now, when you go through and do a restoration, if you're looking for a component such as a generator in this particular case here, do you try to match the date codes and such?
I would have, but in this particular case, all the original components were here.
So this is all original, so everything
That's the original generator, it has the original starter on it. Most electrical components are the originals. I did have to replace the air cleaner housing. I had a friend who was restoring one of these and who just gave me that one because it looked real bad before it was cleaned up. So that one cleaned up nice. I did have to make a few special gaskets. The gasket on this choke plate here is a fresh from the R&D group.
Looks like a little bit of graphite there.
Yes,
Ed?
yes.
I don't think graphite was in use back in 1962.
No, it wasn't, but it was what took to seal the application. Things after 37 years aren't quite as flat or straight as they used to be, so that was what it took to seal her up.
Great. Now, you've won some awards on this car, haven't you?
Yes, this car's won a few first places. It's taken one best of show. It shows nicely.
Beautiful job. Thanks, Ed.
Thanks a lot, Warren.
Here we have Shannon Murphy with us here.
Hi, it's very nice to be here with Dana Corp.
And here's Ron.
Somebody let me out of here! Let me out of here! Who runs Bartertown? Who runs Bartertown?
Well, that's enough for Ron.
Do Eric! Due to the... What's Eric's word? Come on, y'all.
Mr. Sharp? Mr. Sharp? Do you have any words to us?
Please fire Ron as soon as possible. We don't need that type of riffraff in our department. Please fire him at all costs. Well, we probably need to, go through some better screening processes for our applicants. I knew the guy was no good on the interview. All he did was sat and laughed, and I believe that's how he got his job.
Well, thank you.
What did Eric say he was for liberalism? Who that word Eric said?
Oh, let's go see Rich for a minute. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Rich Kozerski, you've got some folks that you'd like to introduce to us here.
Yeah, my wife and my parents are here visiting. And as I said before, my mom used to work part-time at the Chicago plant when she was in high school.
So can we ask her any questions?
So how was it working there in the 60s?
60.
So, Ms. Kozerski, can you tell us any stories about Rich?
About Rich? What do you want to know?
Oh, you got to start whatever you want there.
I don't know. He's a good boy. He's a good kid.
He was always good.
He was good. He was always really.
Except when he hit my car got hit. Remember that time, Rich?
When he smashed.
Wait a minute. He hit your car.
Brand new car. Let him have it to go out one evening, and he came home early. I don't know why. So the next day when I was going to church, I pulled the car in the garage, and there was a big dent inside of the door.
And what was for Father's Day?
He made too sharp of a turn. So I says, why don't you say something? He said, I don't want to get you angry. I said, what do you think I am now?
So what happened? What ensued after that?
That's it. No, nothing.
That was
no.
it. Okay.
He was a good kid.
He was good.
Oh yeah.
All right. So you were at Victor for a number of years.
I worked there, in high school, which was a long time ago. Section B9. Section B9 I worked there. Sorting, they give us orders, we get a little cart, and then we'd fill it out and turn it in.
Great. So a lot of changes over the years.
Oh my goodness, and how? Oh, and how? It's really, everything is computerized, everything.
So you're seeing a lot of people here that you've seen over the years?
They're our neighbors, Gina girls and stuff. Now, where's John?
He's here.
Judy too, is Judy?
Judy and John are both here.
Okay, I'm going to talk to him about Alaska.
Oh, we were hoping to get some good stories about Rich here.
It's not me, it's them.
Okay.
I guess there's nothing controversial,
Mary, you want to tell us some good stories about Rich? Okay. Well, thanks very much.
Sure. Be on the news.
No.
Told you. Why?
They're going to be on the
Why?
10 o'clock news, right?
When are we going to be on?
Yeah.
WCRZ, the Cruise Network.
We got recorded.
You got recorded.
Those are mine.
There we go.
Thank you. We got business cards. Yeah,
okay.
We got everybody's business cards. Do you want to interview my business cards?
You want to interview the business card? No, I know all those people.
That was mine. Thanks. For my teeth.
3, 2, 1. Well, Jim, it's a little after 6:30, and it's starting to wrap down and wind down here. How do you think it went today?
I think it went great. It seemed like everybody had a good time. Had a lot of retirees come out. I bet there were 200 people that came out. They were just retirees. And we're real pleased with the way the whole thing turned out.
Great. Yeah, I think a lot of folks saw a lot of people they don't see very often.
That's right.
Maybe only once a year or once every 5 years or so. And I know some folks came in all the way from Florida.
Yeah.
And,
I know that a couple of the Victor brothers were here. I just saw them upstairs. So have you talked to them yet?
No.
You'll have to do that.
We can do that. We're just the ones to do that.
Okay, I know you are.
So we're here to annoy.
And we'll go with your strengths.
All right, Jim. By the way, Jim, tell me about something funny that happened to you here today.
Nothing funny happened today.
Nothing funny, or he can't remember, or you're pleading the fifth.
I just can't remember.
You can't remember. I don't recall. Is the proper political term?
I don't recall.
I don't recall.
To best my recollection.
You do not recall. That is your honor.
Recall.
Right. Exactly. See now this guy's got it.
I'd like to introduce a friend.
Look at the glasses here.
Hey, what's happening, sports fans?
Give us a little rap.
He got these glasses from Richard Petty.
Yeah, these are Richard Petty's glasses. That's right. I'm gonna get the hat next year. Have to grow into it.
All right. Hey, I'm here with Mr. Rob Lehman. Now, Rob, you're down at our Avila facility now making valve seals, correct?
We're making millions of valve seals.
All right. Now, how many valve seals go into an engine?
Anywhere from, on a 4-cylinder, if we had one, on every exhaust and intake valve, we'd have 8. or we can get up into a V16 locomotive engine, which we now service for GE Transportation, and they use a total of it's 4 valves per cylinder times 16.
64.
So 64 valve stem seals per unit.
That's a lot of valve stem seals. So
Indeed
that's good,
it is.
That's good business.
Well, we're going to be making over 100 million seals by the time 2000 rolls around. So you can imagine it's 100 million seals a year in annual production.
Wow, that's great. Now we're on a number of large projects right now, aren't we?
We have everything going right now from automotive accounts that like the GE model year 2000 3-liter or 3.1 engine will be involved on. There are some new things planned for GM in the 2003 timeframe that we'll be on. 3-valve version of engines that Ford Motor Company currently makes in a 2-valve configuration will automatically increase our sales by 50% just by the advent of 3 valves. We have programs with small engine manufacturers as well as, again, locomotive manufacturers. So we're out everything from cutting your lawn to taking the train downtown.
No, it sounds like we really got this this product well underway here.
Yeah, we have it covered.
Wonderful. All right, thanks, Rob.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it. 3, 2, 1. Well, I'm here with Joe Antonini. Joe, how are you tonight?
I'm great. How are you?
So are you greeting everyone coming in?
Everybody that shows up.
Everyone in the show.
Some of the people that don't.
You're greeting the ones that don't show up. Now he's in good shape there. Now, okay, I've got to ask a question. Now, you've been with Victor about how many years?
Since 1963. I don't have my heading machine here. 36 years.
1936 years, 1963. So a lot of these people that are coming through the door tonight, you've worked with.
Yes, a lot of them I recognize, and a lot of them I work with. Yes, and it's great to see them. Most of them are in great shape. All of them are in great shape. Yes.
Great. Well, that's wonderful, and I'm sure we had a really good turnout tonight, and
We're
I'm
glad
sure
to be
that's
here. Yes, definitely. We're waiting for a few more people to show up. Ed Wolinski hasn't showed up yet. We are waiting for him. Me and Belter especially.
well, good. Well, I was talking to a number of folks tonight that were in the valves oil seal plant, and a few people.
Yes.
You probably
yes,
remember those folks.
Yes, and there are some pictures of them upstairs. If you probably pass them around, I guess. I don't know who got those pictures upstairs. They're great.
Yeah. Well, very good. Well, thanks, Joe.
Well, thank you.
Talk to you later.
Have a good day. Bye.
Okay, we're back here with some more Wisconsin folks here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't you know?
Don't you know? Okay, and who are you?
Joanna Murky.
Joanna. Okay. And so, what's your affiliation with Victor?
Well, as of 5 o'clock today, I was Gary Austin's administrative assistant at the Milwaukee plant.
Oh, well, very good. Wonderful. So, good.
Any further probing questions?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Hi, do you want to be on TV?
Yeah.
So, is this your dad?
Uh-huh.
All right.
See, I'm a Schweiger.
You're a Schweiger. Well, I saw that on the front of the shirt too.
Future engineer of the division? Maybe general manager?
I want to be a sports player.
Okay.
Believe me, stick with mechanical engineering.
It's a little more stable.
More stable. All right.
Thanks.
Good talking to you. Right. Okay, I'm here with 3, 2, 1. I'm here with Betty Presley.
You would do this to me.
Now, Betty, you were with the Victor plant over in Chicago.
Correct.
And about how many years?
32 years.
32 years. And I'm sure you had a lot of memories over there at the time.
Sure I did. A lot of good friends, customers, a lot of good times.
Great. Now, you were in customer service?
As a customer service for, let's see, about 26 of those years.
That's great. So
That's the time I spent in timekeeping.
So I'm so sure you've seen a number of people here tonight that you've spent many years with.
A lot of good people, a lot of wonderful people, and it's good to see them again. You know, you don't get to see them that often.
Well, it's glad we have folks like yourself out here.
Well, thank you.
I'm here with Linda Redman, and Linda, you've brought your family here too, are you?
Yes, I certainly have.
So can you introduce us?
Sure. This is my sister Laura and her son Sean. Hi. And these are my two other nephews, Justin and Steven. And they had a great time in the laboratories. What do you guys remember from the laboratories?
Seeing the Velcro.
Yeah. What did it look like?
It looked like lots
look at the
of
camera
things
there.
that
Okay.
it looks like woven things.
Okay, what we did is we put a piece of Velcro underneath the microscope.
Ah.
So we got to see what that looked like.
Okay.
How about the engines? What did you like in the engine place?
I actually liked where they made the gaskets and then cut them out with the laser.
Ooh, sounds interesting. Maybe there's a couple of future engineers here.
It might be, might be. That's why my sister-in-law said, they love science. Take them to the work. So.
Well, science is our business.
Oh, you hear, here, innovation.
All right, thanks, Linda.
Okay, thanks.
I'm just glad that my uncle started this business.
All right, well, 3, 2, 1. I'm here with Tony Victor.
Yeah, right.
And Tony, it was your uncle?
Yeah,
who started,
my
Victor?
Uncle John was the main starter, and there were 5 brothers. My dad was one of them, and his name was Tony Victor, same as mine. And, well, I'm just glad that they got started because they made a good business out of it, that's for sure.
Well, it's been quite a staying business here. It's 90 years later, and it's still in business. I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes over those years.
Well, yes, I started, I think, in 1935 myself. And, of course, I retired kind of early. I retired before I got ulcers.
That's a good time to retire.
I was in production control management. 5 years in the business. And,
well, that's a job that could give you ulcers.
Yeah, right. But it was a good job.
Oh, great. And here I have your name, sir?
I'm Harry Victor.
You're Harry Victor.
Yeah, that's
okay.
right.
And
our dad was one of the brothers, but unfortunately my dad died when he was 31 years old. And I worked for the company for just short of 45 years. And I had some memorabilia to build big here. I don't think anyone ever knows that Victor's used to make a change machine at one time. And I have one that's in perfect shape. But unfortunately, I couldn't find it. I hid it somewhere. And I also have a picture of the brothers in the car in front of the plant at 5750 Roosevelt.
Well, it sounds like the Victor family was very innovative over the years. A number of patents that were held.
Right, and I don't think there's many of them left now. There's only Tony and I and a couple of John's. Well, Bill is still living, but he's out. He had a Jaguar dealership on Green Bay War in Wilmette. And I don't know whether he still has it or not, but he's somewhere out there.
Did you mention that little item that you couldn't find?
Pardon?
Did you mention that little item that you couldn't find?
Yeah.
That would have been a rare item. There was another thing that the company made, and I thought it was a good idea, and it was a bicycle. A bicycle made with gears instead of a chain. I think it was an attachment you could put on a bicycle.
It was much like a direct drive?
Direct drive, and I thought that was a real good idea. In fact, I was going to get one, and then I found out that they discontinued it.
You know, I think that was Dana that made that one, Tony, that transmission.
No, I think that was before Dana's time. Yeah.
It was before Dana?
Yeah. But they had all kinds of ideas. Some of them didn't work out. But that's the whole idea.
Well, amongst the
the
thousands of ideas, all you have to have is one that pays off,
to
right?
something else. Right.
Well, good luck, and thanks for coming out tonight.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to be here.
Hi, guys and gals. Joe Pal, Boxcar Willie coming at you live high atop the beautiful Victor Reinz headquarters. We're here for our 90th celebration. I'd like to thank all of you for attending. If there's anything we can do to make your stay more comfortable, please feel free to call on anybody coming by. And you, sir, what's your name?
I don't recall.
Brody the janitor. Okay, Brody, what did you do at Victor Reinz in all your career?
I figured out how to do as little as possible.
Well, there was a lot of that going on back in those days, but did you have anybody that you attached yourself to as a mentor through all those years that you were trying to get out of work? John DeMusis, that's what I thought, but okay, you can come on by. We're just doing an interview. That's all we're doing. We're doing an interview. Thanks for stopping by. Don't step on the cord. Okay, thanks. Go ahead. Step on the cord.
Okay. Well, you tell you what, we're taking your microphone away.
Oh, no. Are the 1935 winners of the U.S. Open.
Wait just a minute, Becky. We'll go outside.
240 years of seniority. Tony Joe, Harry Final, Joe Collins, and Jerry Beanow for the 100 years. 240 years. We'll be expected. I'm figuring he's 40. Joe's good to see you, man. Take care of yourself.
Hey, so between the 4 or 5 of you here, how many years?
240.
About 240.
About 240 years of experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at us now.
40 years.
Yeah, eating cake.
How many years you got? 42?
33 I had.
33 I got.
But
Well,
the
you
first
were,
5 years didn't count.
Yeah.
41 for Jerry Beanowski.
Let me see.
45 for Harry Victor.
Hey, he's got it all figured out.
And 45 for Tony.
Well, that's a heck of a lot of
Yeah, but
experience.
what do we win?
You got?
You get to take a ball home.
No, we take one of those cars out there.
You take the 62
Yes, Pontiac.
out there. I think Ed Radin will be after you.
Yeah. He'll follow you to the end of the work.
Right, the other one you probably can get away with. The problem is it won't go very far without a charge.
Keep the party going. You got one more hour to go.
I told him my son was 16. He bought a 1970 Barracuda.
Now this is Jerry, the other Jerry, Jerry that's
no,
down in
that's my
Danville.
other son. The other one is still is in Kentucky, but no, that's my other son. He works for Silver Edge Corporation. He's a computer program analysis.
Now you've got, I know Jerry from down in Danville.
Yeah.
So you've got quite a bit of family here that's still with Dana.
Yeah, well, I had 41 years in the company. Yeah. So we, like I says, I worked for right over here. I started in here before I went to the service. Went to the service and I came back after the service, started all over again.
That's great.
So been retired 15 years now. So.
That's a lot of time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jerry, thanks for coming.
Oh,
Look forward
thank you.
to it. Thank you.
Glad to meet you guys.
Nice meeting you.